Your microphone is off, John. Okay. On the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a picture of a microphone. Your Now your microphone is off on that as well. Again, bottom left-hand corner.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I wasn't ready for this.
Okay, no problem. Are
Um,
you a firefighter?
yes,
Okay. And
yeah.
what's your business? What business do you run?
So for the past 16 years, I've had a video business and specialized in weddings.
Okay.
And it really kind of blasted off 16 years ago, and it's I don't know. Long story short, since COVID, it's just been on the rocks. Um, and Yeah, it's just, the expenditures are greater than the revenue. Um, so I kind of went back to doing like the handyman business.
Okay.
Um, and we had talked maybe a month or so ago, and the idea was firefighter fix it. It's firefighters working as handymen. Um, and I've tried 3 or 4 other businesses before that, but they just weren't really getting traction. I felt like I was trying to create demand. Um, and there's, just like you've been saying, for handyman and that sort of stuff, there is a demand. Um, I think ultimately I was running into some issues with the firefighter handyman thing because the best guys are least available, and the least skilled guys are the most available. Um, and what I'm doing right now, kind of my last Hail Mary, is property services. I've put together a list of about 40 guys with different skills, like master carpenters, master plumbers, electricians, just kind of the whole works. And I have a website, Fixable Property Services. Um, I have a marketing list of several hundred property managers and realtors in my area, the
Okay.
Philadelphia area. And basically, I'm going to start marketing to them. Basically, on-demand property services. Um, so, I feel like this is kind of like my last opportunity to make things work before it's just done. Everything. So I didn't want to mess around and then find out like, oh dang, I wish I had done that differently.
Okay.
Um, but I love your approach and just how sometimes people are stuck on their focus, but then you see things from 10,000 miles and you say, well, hey, maybe X, Y, and Z.
Right. And I'm seeing that, except when I blurt things out, like I can see the problems. But when I blurt things out, nothing changes. Right. So it's not about me identifying the problems, it's about you identifying the problems. That's where the change is going to occur. Right.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 40 years, and I know when we are creating a dead end. We are creating a dead end right now. Right. So one of the questions that I would ask is, well, one of the things you should do is reverse roles. Right. Put yourself in my shoes. I'm a firefighter. I've tried 4 different businesses and nothing seems to be working. So what is the problem?
Well, I see the common factor seems to be me.
Okay, but beyond that, what's the most important part of any business?
That you bring value where people are looking for it.
Even before value, before you can bring value, when you bring value, it means that you've contracted. There's a contract, there's an agreement, right? Before
Right.
you can even bring value, what's needed?
Skills? I don't know.
No, no. I could have all the skills in the world, right?
A need.
No, you've already mentioned that you are creating the need. You're trying to create the need, which is part of a business. But there is one major ingredient that's missing before you can do any of that stuff.
I don't know.
You want me to give you the answer?
Yes, please.
Trust. Trust. Before people do business with people they know well and trust.
Hmm.
How are you getting in front of 10,000 or 100 future potential clients? 100,000 future potential clients? Because you're going to need big numbers, because that funnel reduces very quickly. From 100,000, you might get 3 or 5 potential clients, or clients that say, yeah, John, can you fix that for me?
Hmm.
Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, so having the marketing list, having
How many people
the
on your marketing list?
um it's around 5 to 600.
Okay. So
Um
I'm a property manager. I get 20 or 30 of those emails a week. Why would I open yours?
hmm,
We're back to the trust problem, right?
yeah, I
I
see
don't
what you're
know who you
saying.
are, John. Why would I open your email?
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe it's more of a just building quality over quantity, relationships with the right
Relationships
properties.
are important. Absolutely. Relationships are important. But the question is, how do you build a relationship that they trust you? You don't build it by spamming them. That's the opposite of a relationship.
Yeah. Have you seen what have been the more successful approaches in this sort of endeavor that you've seen?
Well, we've created, I mean, one of my clients is a handyman service. And by the way, he gets about $2 million from one client. One
Wow.
client, a commercial client, a bank, obviously, but one client, right? But
Okay.
you got to have the strategy. You got to have, you know, the way to meet the right people and help them. It's not about spamming them. It's about helping them, right? And I'm not talking about, Leo, I can help you with, my handyman service. That's not helping. That's spamming again.
Hmm.
Okay. anytime you're trying to help people with your service, that's sales. That's spammy shit, right? That doesn't work. And people can see through that. You got to help them in an authentic way that doesn't involve your business. So we need to, John, we need to backtrack.
Okay.
We need to backtrack because you don't have a foundation under your company. Okay. You're trying
Yeah.
to build the 5th floor of the Empire State Building, but you don't have a foundation. It's built on sand and it's going like this. And the more floors you put on, the more it's going to teeter-totter with the wind. Okay. So we got to
Okay.
backtrack. And you're doing the typical thing that entrepreneurs do. They get this idea and they go full steam ahead. They don't test the idea. They don't ask, is this a profitable idea? They don't ask, what's my quality of life going to be if I pursue this idea, even if it works? And 96% of the time, it doesn't. And you're blowing your brains out. Okay. 96% of the time. Okay. And keep in mind, 96% of the time include people with business degrees that have $2 million in startup capital and they still fail. Okay. I can give you an example how, someone in the construction industry had 1,500 employees, raised $4 million to start a company and failed and went bankrupt. Just because you have certain elements of a business doesn't mean you have the complete picture. And there are 33 tools that you need in the business. Marketing is just one of them. And marketing alone without branding and differentiation create an unfair advantage is bankruptcy. Okay. So what I would suggest is you backtrack a little bit. One of the things we do with my students on group mentoring is to do a spreadsheet of at least 10 different businesses, 10 to 12 businesses. Handyman business would be in there. Video production weddings would be another one, and at least 10 other ones in there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then you start measuring these businesses with at least 20 different measuring tools. And you start thinking about quality of life and how am I going to get in front of 100,000 future potential clients for all these businesses, right? And once you start adding detail to these businesses with, at least 20 different columns on the spreadsheet, eventually a clear winner comes up.
Yeah.
Okay? Because what I find is most people start, if my dad was an electrician, there's a very good chance I'm going to be an electrician. Nobody asks what's the quality of life for an electrician or a plumber or a roofer or a taxi driver or a teacher, right? Nobody asks those questions. And by joining my class, I force you to ask those questions.
It was probably 2 years ago I actually did that. I had 10 different ideas and there were some ones that clearly rose to the top. I probably had a dozen factors that I was analyzing, but those were some of the businesses that I was working on. It just seemed like, I don't know, that's a different thing, but yeah, I that definitely makes sense. I would love to be, involved in one of these mentoring groups. For sure.
We have a new group. We meet every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But I would say that you're kind of in, you don't have 3 or 4 years of learning and doing before you start a business, because I generally recommend if you're going to start a business within the next 10 years, you should start organic marketing today. That 100,000 future potential clients, right? I'm serious about that. And if you ask, why do I need to do that much work? Well, instead of having a 96% failure rate, we have a 1% failure rate. That's the difference. Okay.
Well,
We pre-designed the company before launching the company. That's the proper way to do things.
yeah, that,
But the,
yeah, that,
the, the question John needs to ask, and you need to sit down with your wife and kids this evening, is what do we want? What do we want out of life? You know, because if you start a handyman service, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to see your kids.
well, I mean, the model is that there's, I'm not out there in the field with, my hands on stuff. But, with the firefighter handyman thing, it was, trying to, I couldn't get a guy scheduled. So I went out, I was fixing a shed at a condo community. And then the HOA and property managers walking around, and I got talking to them. And that's how I met this guy. And then he called me up and said that there's some apartments and he needs some decks redone. And I did an estimate for one deck, but there's probably 90 other decks there. And, that's kind of what got me thinking the property management thing. But, if there was some way to get a contract, because all these decks look like they're about to fall apart if the wind blows on them. I was thinking, if I get a contract where they say, yeah, you know what, we need this amount of, 70% of these decks replaced, something like that would be obviously a good thing as long as I have the capacity to make good on that.
Mhm.
But
Okay. What's the average deck cost?
for
What would you sell
these
the decks
it's
for?
about 5,500.
Okay. What
Um,
would be your costs?
the costs, I think they are 17. I have it all here. I end up getting a little bit too much into spreadsheets sometimes. Um, but I made a whole like I took advantage of that to make a Google sheet. So I can just, I have a template now. I just type it in. So basically, for this, so for if I, let's say I did it all myself, the I just typed in an example here, for $3,400 invoice, the materials would be 1,200. If I was, let's see, if I was subcontracting it, okay, so this is for this deck. It's the invoice for it would be $5,670. I factored in 2,400 for labor, 1,200 for profit, and 2,000 for materials.
1,200 for profit.
Yeah.
And how much time? So how much is the sub making on that? You said 2,000 for labor,
2,400. Yeah.
2,400. And how long would it take to build?
Um, according to my calculator here, I would allow 3 days for it.
3 days, two guys?
Yeah, it could be two guys plus a helper. Um, yeah, I mean these decks are pretty small. They're like but apartment balconies.
Mhm.
Um, but then like for this calculator on the sheet I made, I also have a scenario where if I, did it myself with a helper, how long it would take and the profit margin. So, but obviously that's not a sustainable model to be out there doing it myself.
Right.
um,
So what are the advantages and disadvantages of running a handyman business?
well, from my perspective, what handyman versus a property services, or just you just kind of,
Well, I think you're
I mean,
just a different name for the same type of business, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, with the property services one, I actually have HVAC guys and electricians, plumbers, so we can kind of tackle anything versus handyman usually. At least my thinking is they stop short of stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I just think that there's a big demand for it, and you know, I think like I've heard you say, and some other great people about just don't try to create demand. Go where the demand is, and the other thing that I like, because I got a month and a half ago, I got into a big deck project, and it's just kicking my butt. So my other kind of resolution is go for in and out jobs, not big renovations and stuff like that
Right.
that
One day,
you're gonna get
2 day
bogged down
jobs
on.
maximum.
Yeah, or maybe like a week tops.
Okay. Okay, so again, we need to backtrack because you keep trying to, I'm trying to pull you into the helicopter to see the helicopter view, and you keep
Gotcha.
dragging me into the weeds. So let's
Okay.
backtrack a little bit. Why do you want to start a business?
Well, you know, on basic level to support my family,
Okay.
and um on a
So
deeper level,
hold on. Watch your answers. Your answers are very, very telling. Okay. You want to support your family. You want to pay the bills. Is that
yeah.
it? Be careful what you wish for because you will get it.
Well, I can tell you that I've always just my brain is wired as entrepreneur. I remember when I was like 3 years old making a sign, hanging it up on the telephone poles. Well, it was like a little older, but because I rescued my dog. My dog was in trouble and I saved her. So I made a dog saver sign. And I thought, it's just I've always kind of been enterprising in that sense.
Okay.
Um, just the way my brain works. And
Okay.
it's a blessing or a curse. But
How about instead of saying you want to support your family, how about you go a little broader and you say you want to create generational wealth?
yeah,
Okay. So
I feel
let's
like I've
assume,
almost yeah. No, I do. I just feel like I've kind of almost given up on that at this point. But yeah,
okay. No, don't give
no.
up on that. You're a young guy, you're a smart guy, you're intelligent, you have a job, you have income, you still have your firefighter job, correct?
Oh, that's volunteer.
Oh, that's volunteer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I'm piloting a plane with my family on it and almost running on fumes. So it's
Okay, got it. Got it.
yeah,
So the your other people, they're volunteers as well. The other firefighter, handyman, they're volunteers as well.
right.
Okay, that's a completely different story. Okay. Um, okay, so the goal is you want to start a business, you want to compress 10 years into 2 or 3 months, right? You want to
Yep.
compress 10 years worth of work into 2 or 3 months and not only find a profitable business, create the business blueprint, the other 33 tools, design the business, launch the business, and start making money as quickly as possible. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is not an impossible task as long as you're willing to work 16, 18-hour days. Okay.
100%.
Um, and one of the first thing you've watched the top 10 most profitable businesses video on my profile,
Yeah,
right?
multiple times. Yeah.
Okay. What resonates with you out of the list?
Yeah, the handyman.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I figured that's what you're going to say. We're back to what are the advantages, disadvantages of a handyman business? Okay. The advantages are there is an existing demand already, but you still need to create branding and differentiation to create an unfair advantage. Okay. They need the retirees or the banks or whoever you're going to go after or the property management companies need to know you exist, and they need to know you are the expert in that field. Short of that, they're not going to call you. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the advantages are the services available. The disadvantages are the jobs are so widespread and so many different things that they want done. Changing a light bulb on a two-story foyer, fixing a dishwasher that the dog stepped on the door and it's falling forward, fixing holes in drywall, and 100 different things, right? The problem is there's so many different jobs need to be done that you cannot have a handyman that can do it all, right?
Right.
So if you want to be successful, you got to train each handyman to be the expert at 2 or 3 things tops. Okay. For example, one of the handyman for this service company or handyman service, one guy, all he does is install brackets for TVs on fireplaces. That's all he does. He has the right tools, he has the equipment, he has everything he needs to do that properly, efficiently, very quickly. Okay. Another one, he's the expert at fixing holes in drywall, then touching it up. But he's an expert at taking a hole on drywall and painting the room, because a touch up, you're always going to see the touch up. Okay.
Hmm.
So he knows how to upsell. Okay. But really, if you want to look at a handyman service, I would go into commercial work, because commercial is where the money is, right?
I think that's kind of the steps I've been taking, because from the firefighter handyman thing is when I kind of made that shift to the property services, where, yeah, like you're saying, there's out of these, 40, 50 guys that I've lined up, there's HVAC, electric, plumbing, and then there are some handymen too. Um, so it is more specialized like that.
Okay. But are these guys committed to you? If you say, Fred, I need you on this job site in 90 minutes.
So that's a good question. And this is something I learned with the firefighter handyman business. Um, my After my first week of rolling it out, what I realized is these guys have their own lives, and I was hitting a brick wall with the sales because I didn't know when to schedule somebody. I was trying to get back and forth. So what I'm doing is at the beginning of each week, I designed a form that I text to them all, and then they just click what days and time of days they're available for that coming week, and then I have a master calendar. So then that way I have, what I'm saying. So then I can schedule based on that
So you're
each week.
bending over backwards for your employees. That's a hard way to run a business. Your client has to come first, not the employees.
Well, I mean, you mean like, well, I guess it's kind of hard though to have everyone just kind of on the payroll ready to go whenever they're
Wouldn't it be
dispatched.
easier for them to ask for time off when they need time off?
Ah, that's brilliant. Yeah, just flipping around. Yeah.
Yeah. The onus is on them, not on you, right? Your job is to run the business, right? But
Mm.
they've got to be committed. If they're not committed to this concept, then you haven't done your job as the CEO, right? Why do
Well,
they want to work for you? I'm a handyman. Why would I want to work for you when I can do my own work?
I guess there's just a little ramp up period where I first say, "Hey, look, this is something new I'm rolling out," and they're kind of going, from job to job, um, on their own. And these guys they still have their own businesses. These contractors that I'm, pairing up with, but like, just I need to line up an HVAC guy to go out and look at
You're
replacing.
you're you're thinking detail again, Joe. I'm trying to get you in the helicopter. Now let's look at this business. You are not starting. By the way, I started my first construction business when I was 17. I made my first million before I was 25. I chose the wrong business.
Huh.
Okay. I chose the wrong business. I was building basement apartments, income producing basement apartments. It was totally illegal back then. Nobody was doing it. And, I had the problem of educating, right? Even though there's a demand for it, but most homeowners don't know they can call someone to fix that. They just deal with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's been broken for 2 years. It'll stay broken forever until somebody fixes it, right? So someone
Yeah.
needs to educate. The education process in the handyman business is, daunting, right? But you are not starting the easiest business. For example, painting is a much easier business, right? Because everybody knows what painting is. Everybody knows they can hire painters, and it's a much easier process, especially if you develop relationships with, 50 interior designers, 100 real estate agents, and so on, and it will feed you a lot of work, right? So that's a much easier business to start, but still not the easiest, because when somebody paints their house, are they going to need you again tomorrow? No, their house is painted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to go out and find a new client, a new client, a new client, just like roofing. Once you've done their roof, they don't need you for 20 years. What are you going to do? Wait for 20 years? No, right? So
But do you kind of,
what business, stay with me for a second. What business do you have where you train your clients and the clients need you every day for the next 20 or 40 years?
that I can do?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was that one business for security cameras that I was working on for months, but I just wasn't getting traction with that.
Okay,
But
and
that
how do
was
you
a
get traction? We'll come back to that other question. How do you get traction? By the way, my videos get 20 million views every 7 to 14 days. 20 million future potential clients every 7 to 14 days.
wow.
Can you think of a better way to get traction?
I mean, not really.
No, there isn't. The only other way is to do a pay-per-click campaign on Google or Facebook. And that's going to cost you a fortune. Can you imagine how much it would cost you to get in front of 20 million future potential clients?
Actual views, yeah.
Yeah, it'll cost you a fortune, right? So why not do it organically? Why not use leverage tools?
You're not suggesting like a have like a social media channel. I mean,
I am suggesting you hire 3 social media managers. Of course I am.
and
In
just really
the
hyper
in the
target it.
Philippines, it's going to cost you $600 a month each.
And that and just really hyper focus it in my area, like a 20-mile radius in my area.
No, no, not hyper focus. You don't want to hyper focus anything. Don't forget the funnels will hyper focus.
Right. So that's building the trust and positioning the expert.
Exactly. But let's go back. What type of client needs you every day for the rest of their lives? Unless you screw up, of course.
Are we still in like the handyman construction
No, no, we're
region or
talking about
anywhere?
businesses. I'm trying to broaden your mind. I'm trying to broaden your opportunities. I'm trying to
Um,
create generational wealth for your family.
well, something with a subscription model,
Yes,
I would think.
yes. Keep going.
Uh,
Yeah, you're on the right path.
I mean, it just, from my background,
No,
which
forget your
isn't
background. Stop looking through
okay,
your eyes. Look through
okay.
my eyes.
Um, I was gonna say like a security camera sort of thing, but
You're still looking through your eyes.
yeah. Well, I mean, food, water, health. You go through the
You
psychology.
said you watched the top 10 most profitable businesses video. What was number one?
Was that accounting,
Bookkeeping,
bookkeeping?
accounting services. Yeah. Why did you ignore number one?
Well, I guess I was looking at it as like,
A
how did
job.
these? Well, I was thinking of like, so what do I have background in? And
See, you're looking at it as a job. What does a CEO do?
I guess yeah, they bring the people together and make the machine or the
They
company operate.
build teams, right? The CEO's job is leadership, motivation, vision, right? It has nothing to do with your background. Who cares? Right?
Hmm.
Your job is to motivate your team after you build your team, obviously, after you train your team. Your job is to show them the vision. And this is where you're failing with a handyman service. They don't see your vision because you don't have a vision,
Hmm.
right? Had you said, I'm going to start a handyman service and I'm going to create a franchise and we're all going to be part of this $100 million business. Had you shown them that vision, they would say, yeah, I'm in. How do I do this? How do I
Hmm.
build generational wealth for my family? You didn't show them the vision. That's why you're not on board.
And that only applies to people internally. Like, I mean, is there a way to have a vision for? It doesn't matter to have a vision for customers other than for marketing.
Well, the customer, the client needs to have their problem solved. That's all they want,
You know.
right?
Well, yeah. I mean, for for a vision, I mean, I think you can, for the handyman property services, you get it once you get it working efficiently in one metro area, that can be applied to other metro areas. I mean,
Yeah, it's a cookie cutter process. Once you've perfected the cookie cutter, you just keep using the same cookie cutter all over North America. We worked on 8 franchise concepts from scratch.
but the yeah, that's I mean, it's interesting. You still got me thinking, because I just kind of didn't think about the bookkeeping thing anymore because I thought, well, that doesn't really apply to me.
No, it
But
does apply to you. Because what business can you run from your sailboat, your cottage, your vacation home,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the bookkeeping is $100 million business when you start franchising.
What's your
And
sense? Like, do you think I should try to just keep going with the property services, or do you think I should?
if I were in your shoes, I'd create the spreadsheet. I would sit down with the wife and put in 40 hours on that spreadsheet, work through the whole process, and you and your wife should come to a decision and say, here is our best opportunity. Because for every company, there's advantages and disadvantages. How can you make decisions if you don't know what they are?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I kind of, I kind of did that spreadsheet exercise.
John, forgive
And
me. Forgive me.
yeah,
No, you didn't. You didn't.
yeah.
You didn't. You superficially did it. So you can say you did it, but you didn't do it.
Hmm.
You didn't go deep enough because you can't tell me what the disadvantages are for a handyman business.
Well, I mean, I guess I ranked each one. I ranked them on like different factors. But in terms of I mean, disadvantages, like I, if you're stuck out there doing it yourself, then yeah, then you can't do it from a sailboat. But um, yeah, like that. I think that's really kind of my goal with stuff is to be able to do it from a sailboat. Like I had the wedding video business like that.
Okay.
Um,
How many
I
employees
wasn't.
did you have?
I had five at the highest, and then I worked with a lot of subcontractors.
Okay.
So I wasn't filming weddings. I wasn't talking to brides. The only time I talked to brides if an issue was escalated, if there was something escalated. But I
Do you still have
pretty much
access to
should
those people?
the employees
Yeah, the
or
videographers.
oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Well,
mean it's still going, but you know, not
is there
not so.
anything stopping you from starting three different businesses at the same time or five different businesses at the same time?
I mean nothing's stopping me.
Is it
Other
a good idea?
I would. I feel like it's something that it's I don't want to get too unfocused on trying to do three and then not do one well.
Okay.
But
Think about what I
uh,
said earlier. What's your job as a CEO? Your
well,
job is to find a great team, train them, and allow them to do their work. If you're hiring a general manager or a CEO for each business, why would you say you're not hyper focused?
yeah, but I mean, with having limited capital, then you know it would be doing the website, the design, the marketing, and just I feel like starting business takes a lot of focused energy.
Well, if
Uh,
you're going to turn your business into a job, you're right. And what
Um,
happens when you turn the CEO into an employee? That company is bankrupt before you get there.
yeah, I mean, I would do it. I would do it. I guess I don't know. I guess I just maybe because I mean, if I'm not going to be in the beginning, if I'm not going to be, the graphic designer making the logo on the website, and I'd have to have capital to pay people to bring the company into reality,
Well,
right?
ideally, yes. Ideally, you want to start with $50,000 from a line of credit. But I manage a group, and you should know this already if you watch my
Yeah.
content. I manage a group with 338,000 business owners now, who I would say 90% of them started with less than $5,000.
Wow. I didn't know it was that many business owners.
Yeah, 338,000, just under 38, 338,000.
That's incredible.
Yep. And most of them started with, a step ladder, a toolbox, and a pickup truck. And zero, probably with zero money in the bank account, probably negative in the bank account.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to work as many, long days, I have been. I think like I mentioned to you, I just feel like I'm just kind of I don't know, losing my confidence a little bit. I'm trying to keep the confidence, but
Because let me tell you why that is. Because you're putting in a lot of effort with little to no return.
yeah.
Okay. So you got to switch that. You got to use leverage tools to put in a little effort to produce big results. You haven't done that yet. And what's the leverage tool that you can use that requires little effort to produce big results?
I mean, capital,
No,
social
no,
media. I
no.
I don't know. What is it?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. I can take 10 minutes to produce a video. Well, one of my videos has 9.4 million views. It took me 10 minutes, let's say 20 minutes by the time you had the hashtags and so on. So 20 minutes to produce a video that already has 9.4 million views that probably has brought me in 20 different clients. I mean, not to mention, I have to, my assistants are engaging in the comments, so that takes time as well, right?
Hmm.
But in order to produce, it took me probably 20 minutes to produce that video, including research, because the research was already in my head.
Do you don't do you, Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have a pretty unique ability to make those videos. Like I don't know that I don't know how you
Okay,
do what
all
you
right.
do.
I know where you're going. Let me stop you. I used to do some live events on TikTok. There was a gentleman that, was producing a lot of videos, and the most he was getting was about 200 or 300 views on his videos. We started doing live events together, and now most of his views are in the millions.
So
Okay.
some of your audience
Yeah.
got to see him.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are just you have a very unique ability. I think you have expertise, but your ability to communicate it, you're a very good communicator. I think that's what caught my eye with you is, just kind of the way you say stuff.
Yeah. I'm blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's stopping anyone from being blunt? That's not a skill. That's just laziness, right?
Yeah.
So what's stopping you from doing exactly what I did? And by the way, I've been on TikTok for 9 months.
Really? That's it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
About 9 months ago, I had 30 followers on TikTok.
Huh. That's
30.
amazing.
I remember because I made a note of it. Because it took so long to get to 31 followers. Then 32 followers took weeks or months.
Well, oof, I have to really think about that. I've always just kind of steered away from, having like, being on social media like that.
Yeah.
But
And I know that because that's why you kept saying, Leo, this is not going to end up on TikTok, right? Because
yeah.
that shows me what's going on inside your head, right? That mindset is really hurting you.
Wow. Yeah, I get it. It's like I want to kind of lay low, and
Yeah.
I was like I want to, but I also want to go big.
Yeah. You can't do both, right? Everyone that's successful, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, everybody that that's made a lot of money can't lay low, right? It's impossible to run a successful business and be under the radar. It's impossible. Even
Hmm.
if you hire, PR people, it's still impossible to stay under the radar. So don't even try.
Hmm.
What's the point of pushing a boulder uphill when you could push the same boulder downhill? That's the
Yeah.
difference, right? I've got 4 minutes that I need to jump on the call, but what I would suggest is, you need to sit down with your wife, even though your wife is not even, what does your wife do for a living, by the way?
She, yeah,
Homemaker?
yeah.
Okay. And by the way, I created some videos specifically for your wife in mind, or homemakers in mind, for women,
Okay.
because they have special challenges. I would suggest that even though she's not involved in your business, that she's part of your support structure. You sit down and she should join the next call And we need to have some sort of formal arrangement because you need to have a better strategy if you want to start making some real money.
Yeah, I know that. Should I join one of those groups, the
Yeah, I'll
mentoring
send
groups?
you the links, but I'll tell you right now, that's going to be the slowest way for you to start a business. You know,
Okay.
that's really designed for people who are not really sure whether you want to start a business. The people that start a business, we get on calls like this and we start designing. We start building the business blueprint. We start working the spreadsheet. You know, I'm going to work your ass off at least 16, 18-hour days, right? Because you got to make
Yeah.
decisions. I can't do the work for you. Yeah, I can do the work for you, but it's going to be meaningless if I do the work for you.
Right.
Okay. Because what
Yeah.
usually happens is we pick a business, then you start doubting because you didn't do the work. You know, I don't want that doubt to creep in 6 months from now or 6 years from now. Then you're
Okay.
going to start
Yeah.
sabotaging.
Yeah.
Okay. Sabotage is a real problem.
Yeah. I remember that video. Yeah, you were talking about that. Hey, I promise I'll do all the work and 100%, Leo, and let me know what you need from me.
Well, I've sent you my calendar link. Sit down with your
Okay.
wife, book another call. I'll send you those links and let's start moving this forward because, you know, we need to do this, you know, 5 years ago and we're, you know, behind the 8 ball. So the sooner you do this, the sooner you can start making money. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, John. We'll
Thanks
talk
so
again
much.
soon.
Thank you for reaching out. Really
Okay, bye.
appreciate it.